Bismillah. All right, everyone turn to page 53. Please turn to page 53. On page 53, this is our first selection of reading from the actual book. It says, فَصْلٌ فِي أَدَابٍ يَشْتَرِكُ فِيهَا الْعَالِمُ وَالْمُتَعَلِّمُ. Certain manners and the etiquette in which both the teacher and the learner must uphold. They share. ينبغي لكل واحد منهما ألا يخل بوظيفته لعروض مرض خفيف ونحوه مما يمكن معه الاشتغال ويستشفي بالعلم ولا يسأل أحدا تعنتا وتعجيزا فالسائل تعنتا وتعجيزا لا يستحق جوابا وفي الحديث النهي عن غلطات المسائل. He says the first etiquette both the learner and the teacher must uphold and maintain is that each and every one of them have to be devoted and dedicated. And no one is allowed to fail to perform their duty and to miss their post for minor excuses such as sickness and things like this. As long as a person can do it, he's not going to die, it's not going to cause major harm to him. He has to suck it up and do it. Listen to this beautiful speech. He says, and he is to seek the shifa through knowledge. Yastashfi bil ilm. I'm not feeling that well today. I'm a little down. When I come to my class and I see you and I hear you and you ask me a question, I feel better already. Everyone understand the depth of this speech? Many of us we won't be able to get it. Is that knowledge makes me feel good. Knowledge makes me feel better. As some of the doctors, they said to Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah, once when he was sick, if my memory serves me correctly, it was Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. And they said to him that you have to slow down and you got to relax. You're doing too much teaching, too much studying, you're doing too much. You have to look after yourself, sleep more, rest more, so on and so forth. And he told the doctors, as if he was telling them they were being hypocritical. He says, don't you say, and don't you guys believe that the emotional or psychological or the state of the patient has an immediate effect upon his body and his physical health? Don't you hold that idea in medicine? They said, yes, we do. He says, then studying and reading these books and teaches me, that's what makes me happy. That is what makes me feel good. So don't say anything. Me teaching and studying and learning and fighting and knowing all these things, fi sabilillah, he says, that's what's upholding my health. And as long as I'm doing that, I'll be okay, inshallah. So yastashfi bil ilm. Seek the shifa through knowledge. The Quran and Hadith and teaching people. When you're stressed out, you're worried, you're anxious, sometimes you can take your mind off of these things through what? Through knowledge, through teaching. You may come to the masjid, you may see a disciple, see someone smile, Assalamu alaikum Shaykh, Jazakallah khairan for the class last night. Or you go to the madrasa with the little children, and the children give you a handshake and a hug, and they say, I like you and I like your speech, and you look nice, and it may make you forget about your problems, and you feel better. So no, he says, yastashfi bil ilm. Or, ضبط آخر, يستشفى بالعلم. Al-Muhim, cure is sought through ilm. And obviously you can't understand these words and you can't implement these words unless you're truly devoted and dedicated. A part-time student of knowledge, you may find it far-fetched. Someone that's just barely skimming the surface, you may find it, far-fetched. Someone who's really involved in ilm is going to what? He's going to understand the depth of that. And the same applies to da'wah. He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, nor should you ask someone ta'annutan wa ta'jizan. You're not allowed to ask someone a question in which you're trying to embarrass them. You're not allowed to ask someone a question in which you're trying to break their backs or break their back. You're not allowed to put someone on the spot by asking a question. The teacher and the student. I ask you a question which I know you don't know the answer, just to embarrass you, or just to make me superior to you, etc. Don't do that. And the same applies to the sheikh. Don't ask a question which you're looking for fitna. and you're looking to test someone and put someone on the spot, you're looking to show someone up, don't do that. The teacher and or the what? The student. As far as someone you're having a debate with, that's a different story. Someone who isn't necessarily your student, but they come to you and they have a full cup, they're full of useless information and pre-assumptions, this, that, so on and so forth. Then oftentimes you may have to ask them a question, ta'jizan. You may have to silence them, and you may have to show them what they don't know. I want to prove how ignorant you are, and that you need to humble yourself and learn. Everyone understand this? And the ulama, they've mentioned this. If there's someone who's haughty, they're puffing out their chest, sticking out their chest, or someone that is full of useless information, they've been mistaught, they've been misguided, they have a full cup. Sometimes you have to do what every now and then what? Break them. And they say, whoa, okay, I get it now. I don't know that much, he knows more. Let me just ask a question instead of what? Trying to challenge and fight and debate. But if that isn't the case, that should be what? Avoided. And he said, ask the question for fa'idah, to teach them, to learn, وَهَكَذَا. Those who ask questions like this, they don't deserve an answer. They don't deserve an answer. To ask a sheikh a question and you're trying to embarrass him, or you're trying to get him to get in trouble with the government, or you're trying to get him to get in trouble with this sheikh and fulan, they don't deserve an answer. Turn away from them, they don't deserve an answer. Moving forward, number 2. وأن يعتني بتحصيل الكتب شراء واستعارة ولا يشتغل بنسخها إن حصلت أو حصلت بالشراء لأن الاشتغال أهم إلا أن يتعذر الشراء لعدم الثمن أو لعدم الكتاب مع نفاسته فيستنسخه وإلا فلينسخ ولا يهتم بتحسين الخط بل بتصحيحه ولا يرفض مع إمكان تحصيله ملكا فإن استعاره لم يبطئ به لئلا يفوت الانتفاع به على صاحبه لئلا يقصر على تحصيل الفائدة منه ولئلا يمتنع من إعارته غيره وقد جاء في ذم الإبطاء برد الكتب المستعارة عن السلف أشياء كثيرة نثرا ونظما. He says here, number 2, that both the teacher and the student is that you look after buying books, like I just explained to you. Look after buying books and look after getting books. Shira'an wa isti'aratan, purchasing them yourself and borrowing them. Be greedy when it comes to books. Be greedy when it comes to books. Try to get as many books as you possibly can. Purchasing them and going to the public library, or you take a book from a brother, وهكذا. Then he goes on to speak about an issue which is outdated and it's obsolete. Just like many other things in certain books are outdated and obsolete. And that is copying a book, writing it down by hand. There's no need for that, because you just get the PDF. Or there's so many different bookstores. Or you can make a photocopy, which isn't as tedious and backbreaking as what? Painstaking. You know how long it takes to write a 500-page book? It's very painstaking. We don't have to do this no more. وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ وَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ. So he says, don't copy a book if you can buy it. And that's because reading and studying is more important and it's more worthy of your time and your energy than writing down the book. Are we understand this? And this is a major lesson, brothers and sisters, and that is the lesson of economizing your time and your energy. As a student of knowledge, your time is limited. As a student of knowledge, your energy is limited. As a student of knowledge, your resources are what? They're limited. So you have to prioritize. This comes first. I don't have time for that. Take the easy way sometimes. Everyone understand this? To maximize what? Time, energy, effort, money, whatever. Moving forward. He then goes on to speak on some of the adab of borrowing books and lending out books. A person not being stingy with lending out a book, and a person not being miserable with regards to returning the book and holding the book too long. Ashik, where's my book, man? It's my book, Yahi. I'm gonna give it to you. Inshallah, I'm almost done. Give my book. I need my book. Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. You may be oppressing your brother by not giving him back his book. There may be someone else who needs to borrow the book. I may need the book back. Don't take the book and hold it for what? Too long. I would understand this? Unless it's a really, really valuable book. And Ashik, you may say, I'm sorry, Mufti, but what? Kalas, you say in America, you've been burnt. You've been burnt. Call the fire company, you've been burnt. And there's a story that I read once from some of the modern day ulama, I believe the Shaykh Saleh al-Shaykh. He mentioned a story about a man from India who had a great wealth of books. He had a huge library in India. And then different people would come and visit him and they'd say, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah, Allahumma barak, your library is so beautiful. You have so many rare books, so many manuscripts in your book, in your library, so on and so forth. He said, where did you get all these books? Where did you get the money? How did you find this rare out of print book? And he would say, I didn't buy any of these books. And I never traveled for any of these books. He said, I borrowed them and I never gave them back. So they said to the man, his guest, he says, Innaka la majnoon. He says, you're crazy. Like we say, yeah, this is insane. What do you mean you stole all these books? He says, I'm not crazy. He says, they're crazy for lending them to me. They're crazy for giving up these precious what? Rare books. So sometime if you have a brother who's close to you and he lends you a book, you may say, what? Can't get the book back. Because you had no business lending it out because it was that what? That precious and rare. وهكذا. طيب. And then he mentions many other things and stories, etc. Al-Muhim, this here is an example of what? One of the finely tuned manners of a student of knowledge is how to properly deal with what? Books. How to properly deal with books. Professionally and systematically. Buying the books, borrowing the books, lending out the books, putting a stamp in the books, وهكذا. He mentions an athar here that it says, وروينا عن وكيع أول بركة الحديث إعارة الكتب. He says that Waki' ibn al-Jarrah, he said, the very first barakah of a book is to lend it out. The barakah of hadith is to do what? Is to lend it out and not to be stingy with your books. Everyone understand this? And there are many other things that he mentions. Al-Muhim, you have the ability to do what? Go back and read it yourselves now. This is a chapter, this is the information, and it's a summary of what's here. Until we have time to read the book word for word and explain it what? Word for word. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. Let's now move on to let's move to page 55. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, اعلم أن هذا الباب مهم جدا فأحببت تقديمه لعموم الحاجة إليه وقد صنف في هذا جماعة من أصحابنا منهم أبو القاسم الصيمري شيخ صاحب الحاوي ثم الخطيب أبو بكر الحافظ البغدادي ثم الشيخ أبو عمرو بن الصلاح وكل منهم ذكر نفايس لم يذكرها الآخران وقد طلعت كتب الثلاثة ولخصت منها جملة مختصرة مستوعبة لكل ما ذكروه من المهم وضممت إليها نفائس من متفرقات كلام أصحابي وبالله التوفيق. He says, know for sure that this subject is extremely important. Extremely important. And that is the adab of fatwa and the adab of mufti and mustafti is extremely important. And there are many scholars from the Shafi'i madhab who wrote about this, who wrote about the adab of fatwa and mustafti and the mufti, etc. He mentions three names: Al-Hawi, Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, and Ibn al-Salah. And he says each and every one of them mentioned things that the other two didn't. And I myself have also added things that they didn't mention. And it's a very important etiquette of knowledge, is that there's no one who has everything and has mentioned everything. And everyone can give you something that someone else can't necessarily give you. I would understand this. The importance of having diverse source with regards to, or diverse sources of teachers, not just taken from one person. And we know many of the pious predecessors, they would say, what? إِذَا أَرَدْتَ أَن تَعْلَمَ خَطَأَ مُعَلِّمِكَ فَجَالِسْ غَيْرَهُ. When you want to know the mistakes of your teacher, sit with someone else. Or you want to know the shortcomings of your teacher, then learn from someone else. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but he gives me something that he doesn't. And there are many other statements of the ulama of hadith with regards to the similitude of those who only take from one teacher, which I'm not going to mention right now for a few reasons. We have brothers and we have sisters in the majlis. I'm not going to mention that right now. what some of the ulama said about the similitude of a man who only has one teacher and he only sticks to one teacher. طيب, moving forward. Abdul Qawi, moving forward. He says, اعلم أن الإفتاء عظيم الخطر كبير الموقع كثير الفضل لأن المفتي وارث الأنبياء صلوات الله والسلام عليهم وقائم بفرض الكفاية لكنه معرض للخطأ، ولهذا قال المفتي موقع عن الله تعالى. روينا عن ابن المنكدر أنه قال العالم بالله تعالى وخلقه العالم بين الله تعالى وخلقه فلينظر كيف يدخل بينهم. وروينا عن السلف وفضلاء الخلف من التوقف عن الفتية أشياء كثيرة معروفة نذكر منها أحرفا تبركا. No, he says, listen carefully. He says, اعلم, know for sure, أن الإفتاء عظيم الخطر. Giving a fatwa is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. It's not a joke, it's not a game, it's not a small slight thing, it's not a thing to trifle with. It is not a thing to trifle with, it's serious. Kabirul mawqi', very, very important. A tremendous status of paramount importance. Listen carefully. That's what most of you are used to hearing, which is true in good speech. Listen to what he says. Kabir, or he says kathirul fadl. Kathirul fadl. Very virtuous. Just like giving a fatwa is dangerous, it's also what? Virtuous. And we've explained this in many classes and many books. Do not read one athar. Hassan al-Basri said that. Imam Ahmad said this. This companion said, I won't talk, I won't speak. That's only one side. Ibn Abbas, the one who said, don't. الذي يقول للناس أو يجيب الناس على كل ما يسألونه مجنون. He says anyone who answers every question that's thrown to him is what? He says he's mad. And also at the same time, how many questions did Ibn Abbas do? What? He did what? He answered. How many times did Ibn Abbas do what? He answered questions. And he also told the people not to answer what? Every question. The Sahaba ran from the fatwa and they also did what? They gave it. Everyone understand this? So many people, they only take one half, a lump-sided view. And that's extreme. That's extreme. If Allah blesses you to be a leader in al-Islam, that is a tremendous virtue. Allah made the prophets and the Anbiya leaders. He made Dawud alayhi salam a Khalifa. A Khalifa in the land. Everyone understand this? He made them, and that's a virtue. That's a what? That's a virtue. The people who will be under the shade of Allah Azza wa Jalla on the day of Yawm al-Qiyamah is what? Al-Imam al-Adil, the just ruler, is a virtue in being a leader, a strong, just leader. Just as there is a danger in running for leadership and racing for it and fighting for it. The Quran and the Sunnah give us this, and they also give us what? That. The Sahaba, the Athar, the Salaf, they said this, and they also what? Said that. So there's a balance between the two. And that's why he says, Kathirul Fadl. Telling the people about Allah and His Messenger, helping them out with the halal and the haram is what? Tremendously virtuous. Tayyib. Moving forward. And that's because the Mufti, he says, Warithul Anbiya, Allahu Akbar. He is the heir of the prophets. He is the one who inherits their legacy. Because the prophets and the messengers, they were muftis. They told the people about what Allah wanted from them. They gave to the people what was lawful and unlawful. They explained to them the religion. So the one who does that is following their legacy. He's following their footsteps. And obviously he's going to get, or she's going to get, that what? That virtue. Everyone understand this? He then says, وَقَائِمٌ بِفَرْضِ الْكِفَايَةِ. Another reason why it's so virtuous is that he's taking care of the responsibility that someone has to take care of. As we say, it's a dirty job, but what? Somebody has to do it. Someone has to do it. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be involved in this part of the government or the military or the secret police or the intelligence, etc. It's a dirty job, but what? Somebody has to do it for the safety of everybody. For the protection of what? Everybody. Someone has to do it. You may not want to do it. You may not be suited to do it, but someone has to do that kind of stuff for the country to be what? Safe and sound. And that's the reality. That's the reality of what? Of life. It's a dirty job, but what? Someone has to do it. As we say in our famous cliche. So the one who's giving the fatwa and he's helping other people, he is carrying out the fard al-kifaya. Someone has to do it. And everyone can say, I don't want to give a fatwa, I don't want to say anything, I'm too pious. If they do that, then they'll fall into إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ. Allah says what? Those who do what? They conceal and they hide what Allah has sent down. And that's from the greatest sins, is to hoard knowledge. Moving forward, another he says, لَكِنَّهُ مُعَرَّضٌ لِلْخَطَأِ. However, he's exposing himself to mistakes. He's exposing himself to making an error, to falling short. And that is why they used to say, al-Mufti muwaqqi'un anillah. The Mufti is signing off on behalf of Allah. You're signing on behalf of Allah. Yeah, Shaykh, is it permissible to wipe over thin socks? I say, yes, it is. As if I'm telling you, Allah has allowed you to wipe over those thin socks. And that's extremely dangerous. Speaking on behalf of Allah. Everyone understands that's what? Extremely dangerous. Ibn Muneer, rahimahullah, he said, listen to this athar. He says, the alim, the learned person, is between Allah and between Allah's servants. He's the middleman between Allah and His servants. فَلْيَنْظُرْ كَيْفَ يَدْخُلُ بَيْنَهُم. He says he should pay attention and look how he enters between the two. How he enters between them. Pay attention. Going between Allah and His servants, do what? Pay attention. Everyone says it's dangerous. Answering a question, teaching, you have to be mindful of it. But someone has to do it. And if you do it properly and you seek Allah's help, then that is from the greatest things to do. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. Allah says, and who is better in statement than the one who calls to Allah and does righteous deeds and says, I am from the Muslims. يعني لا أحد أحسن قولا منه. That means no one has a better statement than the one who does that. So it's a tremendous virtue in doing anything pertaining to the religion and the service of the religion. Tayyib, moving forward. He says, mentioning about the different things, the different adab of the mufti, of the alim, etc. Verifying your information, being mujtahid, etc., etc. Let's go back to the index now. Let's go to page 28. It says here, قد ذكرنا أقسام العلم الشرعي ومن العلوم الخارجة عنه ما هو محرم أو مكروه ومباح. And know what he says, we've already mentioned the types of religious knowledge, knowledge of the deen. Now he wishes to mention the types of non-religious knowledge or secular knowledge or worldly knowledge. Listen very carefully. He says, knowledge which isn't religious, or doesn't pertain to Sharia, some of it is haram, muharram. You can't learn it. It's impermissible to learn this type of knowledge. You cannot learn this type of knowledge of the dunya. And there are other types, other things from the dunya which he says, makruh. You shouldn't learn it. It's disliked. It's not haram, we don't advise for you to learn this. You shouldn't have a degree in this. And you shouldn't be going to school learning this. And then he says, wa mubah. And there are other types of worldly knowledge which is totally, it's just lawful. Do it if you want to, don't do it if you don't want to. And there is no reward in it unless you have the intention of doing something positive with it. Unless you have the intention of doing something what? Positive with that worldly knowledge. فالمحرم كتعلم السحر فإنه حرام على المذهب الصحيح وبه قطع الجمهور وفيه خلاف نذكره في الجنايات حيث ذكره المصنف إن شاء الله تعالى. Listen carefully. He says, so an example of haram knowledge that you cannot learn is the knowledge of magic, sorcery, divination. These things cannot be learned. And he says, and the correct view is that it's haram to learn sihr, just like it's haram to practice it. And that's because some scholars say the only thing that's haram is what? Practicing it. Some hold the view that the only thing that's haram is to do what? to practice it. And it's not necessarily haram to what? Learn it. No, he says both are haram. Both are haram. To learn it and to what? Practice it. He then says, وَكَالْفَلْسَفَةِ وَالشَّعْبَذَةِ وَالتَّنْجِيمِ وَعُلُومِ الطباعيين وكل ما كان سببا لإثارة الشكوك ويتفاوت في التحريم. Another example of unlawful knowledge is knowledge of philosophy, falsafa. Falsafa. And what's meant by falsafa does not mean that all philosophy is haram, but he's talking about a specific type of falsafa. And obviously the word philosophy in English has different meanings. Philosophy can mean your understanding of a thing. What's your philosophy, Mufti, on drinking tea? What's the best tea? Why do you drink tea? Why do you drink tea in class? I like tea, it does this, kada, kada, kada. My philosophy. What I'm saying is, that's not necessarily the philosophy in which people doubt the Creator and doubt religion. And everything can be doubted and questioned until intellectually and logically proven. Everyone understand this? Falsafa, Sha'ba, the Tanjim, astrology, learning about signs. Are you Pisces or Aries or Cancer or Leo or what? Sagittarius, Cancer, Crab? You want to get married? Or in a dating service? Muslim, I say, what's your sign? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The sister says, I need a Leo. Allahul musta'an. These things like this. And that's a very long discussion, whereas astrology is oftentimes intertwined with many other sciences, such as astronomy and navigation, time calculation. But we're not here to cause no more doubts. Moving forward. He says, and anything else which is meant to spread doubts. Waliyadu billah. Itharatu shukuk. That's the wisdom behind it. Spreading doubts. And he says, and there are different levels of haram. Different levels of what? Haram. With regards to haram sciences, all of them are on the same level. Some are worse than what? Of what? Than what? Others. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. وَالْمَكْرُوهُ كَأَشْعَارِ الْمُوَلِّدِينَ الَّتِي فِيهَا الْغَزْلُ وَالْبِطَالَةِ. And he talks about different types of poetry. Poets who are saying bad things, negative things. Poets that are dealing with issues that don't need to be dealt with. And it's very important to understand that there are different types of poetry. There are different types of poetry. Just like the concept of music. And those who say music isn't haram, it's halal. It's permissible. There's no proof to state that it's haram, so on and so forth. The ulama who held the view, or whoever who said that music isn't haram, they put conditions on that. They put conditions on it. And the ones who said that it's permissible, they said all types of music and songs are not what? Permissible. Listen, are you guys with me or not? Those who said that it was permissible, they made restrictions on what was what? Permissible. Everyone understand this? And it's very important with regards to taqleed and seeking a fatwa, is that you have to learn how to properly follow. No alim said that you can dress like this. He said that you don't have to cover your hands and the face, but he never said that you can wear this type of makeup. And he never said that you can wear this style of hijab. He never said that. He said that you cannot, or you don't have to cover your hands and the face. But he didn't say that you can wear a tight overgarment. And he never said that you can wear a see-through transparent overgarment. He never said you can have on all of this lip gloss and makeup. He never said that. The way of making taqleed. This sheikh said that this music is permissible, or these nasheeds are permissible. But he didn't say what? Listening to this filth and trash is what? Permissible. The conditions. وهكذا. Those who say that sisters can be in the same classroom with brothers, everything is not ikhtilat, it's not all haram. They never said that they can sit next to each other and share a root beer float, an ice cream. He never said that. That they can sit and hold hands and hug. He never what? He didn't say that. He said that they can be in one classroom, mathalan. Those who say they have to be in different classrooms. This one said they can be in what? One classroom, but he didn't say that they can sit next to each other and be buddy friends, and he didn't say that. So there's a way of understanding the fatwa. And that's for argument's sake, if the fatwa is even correct. I understand? I'm trying to make examples here. trying to make examples. And many people, they make mistakes of this. Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, if it is permissible to make taqleed of him, Abu Hanifa did not say you can do that. And he never said that you can do it like that. Ash-Shafi'i rahimahullah, if it's permissible to make taqleed of Shafi'i and follow him from A to Z, he never said that your jewelry can look like that. He said it's permissible to be this, but he never said it can be like that. There's a way of making what? Taqleed and istiftah. And this is from the most dangerous things of 2019, is when people cannot even make taqleed properly. And they cannot make ittiba' properly. And they cannot ask a fatwa and follow a fatwa what? Properly. That's for argument's sake saying that it's even permissible to make taqleed. Or it's permissible to do this or do that act. Everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? Tayyib, khairan inshallah. And he mentions other types of poetry which are permissible. Al-Muhim, medicine, engineering, science, all of these things which are benefits to the Muslims and permissible things in the dunya, there's nothing wrong with learning them. Computer science is needed. It's needed. There's nothing wrong with that. The Muslims need computer science. And oftentimes, we need to be professionals the way we don't have to rely on the non-Muslims. Or that way we won't have to rely on the sinful Muslims, or the Muslims who are upon innovation. And the Muslims who don't have the proper understanding. The people of the Sunnah need to be independent and not leaning and borrowing and begging from others. And then they complain. All of the Islamic children's books are full of weak hadiths. All of the Islamic children's books have pictures. All of the Islamic children's books, then we need our own writers and authors and illustrators. Don't complain if you can't what? Do it yourself. You understand this? So we need professionals in our communities and in our countries. Khairan inshallah. Al-Muhim, everyone gets the point from the book. The beauty of the book, the virtue of the book, and the style of the book. It is upon you to read the book on your own time. If you can't read Arabic, sit with someone who can. If you're stumped, if you need help, it's no problem, you contact me. What does this sentence mean? Or how can you explain this? If Allah brings us back to Malaysia, Allahu Alam, if we'll come back Khidr, only Allah knows. Perhaps we'll explain the book from cover to cover. Maybe we'll make that the whole entire trip from Selangor all the way to here. Every single lecture and every masjid will be wahakada, Allahu Alam. Maybe one of your mashayikh here can teach the book to you. Your a'imma, the ulama, the mashayikh here in Malaysia. Ask them, Shaykh, could you explain this book to us? Mathalan. And even if you don't get an explanation, it's a benefit in just what? Reading it and studying it and sitting with it. Every day when you go back to Singapore, you and your brothers sit in a circle and read the book together. What do you understand from this? What did you get from it? And what do you think it means? Study and learn the book. I've given you the cup and I've poured much in. The rest you have to pour in. And even if we did have enough time, you still have to do a little bit of your own. And I've given you, as I said, what? More than I was supposed to give you. Much more than I was supposed to give you. And Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. We'll leave the rest of the time for some questions. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll try our best to answer as many questions as we possibly can, and to make and keep the answers as short and concise as possible. And I know that there are a lot of questions, and people have questions. Please forgive me if I don't get to your question. It's nothing personal. I'm only but one poor human being, and you can forgive me of my shortcomings, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. Khadr. Don't ask about us coming back to Malaysia. Faddal. I'm sorry? Of course.
Someone asked, sister asked, should Muslim wife live in a non-Muslim land or non-Muslim by herself?
Is it permissible for a sister to live in non-Muslim lands by herself? Inshallah, it's permissible. As long as she has relative safety, she's safe, there's respect for Muslims, and she's in a general safety, la bas. Is it the best thing? No, of course not. It's not the best thing. Even in a Muslim land, it's not the best thing for her to be by herself. In a Muslim land, it's not the best thing for her to be by herself. But the best thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's haram. Her traveling on mahram is a different discussion. She's there. Her mahram took her there, or she went there, al-muhim, she's there already. is permissible as long as it's relatively safe and sound, and she can practice her deen without no one violating or disrespecting her. But it isn't best. Even in the Muslim lands, it's not best to be by yourself. And we know that there are hadiths in which it states, نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يبيت الرجل لوحده. The Prophet forbade a man from sleeping by himself. Hadiths that state that the Prophet forbade a man from living by himself, and which you're always by yourself, is not the best thing to do. You should be around other Muslims, other people. Wallahu alam, that's in brief. Any other questions? If not, we'll stop. Right, we'll take some questions, brothers. If you have any questions, now is the time, inshallah, not after the dars. Fadl.
Is smiling and being positive a part of the etiquette of the teacher?
Is smiling and being positive a part of the teacher, the etiquette of teacher? No, it's not. I don't have to smile to you. I can frown. I can have a mean face. My job is to teach you and not to be your friend. And one of the most widespread problems, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ. I can't free myself from this. One of the most widespread problems is the teacher befriending the student, and the student making jokes about the teacher, and the teacher making jokes with the student and laughing and joking. It's all good. They're brothers, they're traveling, so on and so forth. But eventually, there's a lack of respect. And someone may make a joke in which it's too much, it's beyond the lines, but you've opened up that door. They roast you. They roast you. It may not be a good roast. It's how it is. Let alone the fact that I may be teaching you something and you may be saying it badly. Or you may not be doing it the right, you may be lazy, but I'm too shy to tell you what you need to be told because we're so cool. And if I say something too much, I may hurt your feelings, or you may take it the wrong way. Why are you trying to play me, Mufti? And that's not good. So the teacher and the student hypothetically should not be friends. But obviously that's not always possible. Sometimes it's just, what, Abdul Qawi, it's going to happen. And sometimes it's better for the people to have friends involved in knowledge than friends outside of what? Knowledge. But the teacher does not and should not be your friend. And that's because respect is lost and boundaries are crossed and shyness. If you're a friend who gives me food and takes care of me, I may not have the ability to tell you, ittaqillah, you're lazy. You're a lazy student. You barely read, I can't tell him that. And he's the one who takes care of me and feeds me. That's why the Arabs, they say, إِذَا أَكَلَتِ الْبُطُونَ إِسْتَحْيَتِ الْعُيُونَ. When the bellies eat, when the bellies feed, the eyes are shy. إِذَا أَكَلَتِ الْبُطُونَ إِسْتَحْيَتِ الْعُيُونَ. You're taking care of me, it's not but so much that I can really what? Tell you what you need to be told. Or there may be a friend or someone who's transgressing the boundaries. It's bad character, adab, and I may not be able to what? Say what needs to be said. So your teacher does not have to be your friend, and hypothetically speaking, we said, oftentimes shouldn't be your friend. And it is not my job to smile in your face. It's my job to teach you. That's it. Being positive, sometimes you should be positive. Encourage the student. They do good, tell them, ahsant, reward them. But sometimes a mean and harsh teacher is the best teacher, as I just explained to you why. I'm here to train you, and the real world is unforgiving. And if you make one slip and one mistake, you embarrass the da'wah, and someone may leave Islam. So it's my job to beat you with a stick to make sure that you're what? Razor blade sharp. Hadathana, akhbarana, fulan, you have to be ilm, strong knowledge. And that can't come from me smiling in your face and patting you on the back. Everyone understand this? Wallahu a'lam.
How should the nature of work be for a female psychologist?
How should the nature of work be for a female psychologist or psychologist? Al-Muhim. Work in general is one discussion for men and for women. And psychology is a discussion in general for men and for women. There lies no doubt, in my humble opinion, I'm not an expert on the field or the subject, there are many aspects of psychology which are clearly batil, false, 101%, Islamically and worldly. And there are other things of psychology which are clearly correct and valid Islamically and off of common sense. And then there are issues that are in the middle that could go more than one way. And even if it's not in the Quran or the Sunnah generally or specifically, the concept of it could be valid, as I said. My humble opinion, most things, if not all, aspects of psychology, one way or another, have been mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah. Generally or specifically. Generally or specifically. Al-Muhim, there are aspects of psychology and theory and practice which are haram, or makruh, or mashkuk fi, doubtful. From those things is exposing your sins, exposing your problems, complaining, revealing mistakes that you made, crimes against yourself, and what you have to tell the person everything. With regards to psychology, psychiatric help, etc., you have to tell them what? Everything. And they tell you, I can't help you until you tell me what? Everything. You have to be totally honest with me. When's the last time you drunk? When's the last time you did this haram act of sex? I need to know. When's the first time it happened to you? When's the first time you did it? I need to know. You have to be fully transparent with me. And sometimes that's problematic, Islamically, exposing sins. However, there are often times in which you must get treated. And we know that sometimes it's permissible to do haram acts, sometimes if it's an issue of remedy and it's an issue of necessity. So therefore, psychology in general is a long discussion. As far as a woman, then obviously you have the issue of free mixing. You have the issue of a woman being alone with a man who isn't a mahram. You have the issue of dress code. You have the issue of lack of shyness, etc. So these things have to be looked into and dealt with. At the end of the day, Muslims need psychologists. And Muslim women need psychologists. If it's haram for a woman to be alone with a man who isn't a mahram, who are we going to send her to if we don't have no women who do that? So oftentimes certain things are a necessity. Certain things are what? A necessity. Wallahu alam.
How important is it to invest in hard copies than PDFs?
How important is it to invest in hard copies than PDFs? Sometimes it's important, sometimes it isn't. To me, there's nothing like the feeling of the book. The ability to flip through the book is 10 times faster. Quick. The book doesn't need a battery. The book, there's no glare, there's no backlight. All right? I had the book for 100 years, whereas my iPad is probably old and outdated now. And in another year or 6 months, the apps are going to stop working. And it's going to start glitching and jumping and shutting off by itself. And which the company forces me to buy a new one. They force you to upgrade. I don't know how things are in Malaysia, but in America, they just did research and they proved that they force you to buy a new phone. And once your phone is your favorite phone, they force you to buy another one. No one can force you to buy a new book. The book is always there. The smell of the book, the aroma of the book, the ease of the book on your eyes, the taste of the book, huh? Allahu Akbar. Tears. Al-Muhim. There are virtues of the book. But there are also virtues of the PDF, such as PDF being free, such as the PDF or the e-book being what? Light. I can travel and come to Malaysia and literally have a library at my disposal. A library at my disposal. What book you want to read? Usul Fiqh, Aqidah, Hadith? Tell me, what do you want? Shafi'i, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim, Bukhari, all at my fingertips. And there's no wait. Can't get that with books. Certain books which are out of print. Certain books which are very hard to find. You can't what? Can't get that. You get that with the e-book. So every style has its strength and has its what? Weakness. Reading a book in the dark. And when it's raining outside. Well, how can that? Every book has its strength and its what? Weakness. And that is why we believe in and we practice disciplism. Mixed martial arts. There's no one fighting style. Boxing, karate, judo, aikido, this and that. There is no one style that's superior. But you do what? You blend them together. And which their strengths do what? Their strengths cancel out their what? Weaknesses. You make your own. You learn the form, but you seek the what? The formless. So I have books and I have PDFs. I listen to classes, I listen to lectures, I listen to the Quran There's no one style. You never ever get stuck on what? One style. Never just old, never just new. But you do what? You mix and you merge the two. East, west, west, east, you do what? You mix it. And you take the best from each and you selectively breed. Selectively breed. And which you create your own perfect way. So I have books and I also have what? Tons of ebooks and PDFs. وهكذا. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal, Ibrahim. Who has the what? Greater rights. Husband or parents. If you're living with your parents, then your parents. If you're living with your husband, then sometime your husband. Obeying your husband. Respecting your husband. Keeping his secrets. Protecting his wealth. Allowing him to enjoy you intimately. This is the haqq of the husband. Not allowing anyone into your home that you don't want in your house. Do not allow this person over my house, period. That's his haqq. That's his right. That comes before the father and the mother. However, I'm going to say this, and I think I've been asked this question before in New York. I don't think that there's a husband who's upon the Quran and Sunnah, who has good common sense, a sound mind, that is going to prevent his wife from taking care of her parents. I don't think there's no husband that's going to stop a woman from visiting her mother. That's going to stop a sister from taking care of her old father. No husband in his right mind is going to do that. Someone who's mentally ill, who's extremely insecure, who's bursting with jealousy, someone who has a problem, he's going to say, don't talk to your father. Don't let your father come over. Don't speak to your mother. Serve me, give me. I don't think no man in his right mind is going to do that. Just like I don't think that there's a woman in her right mind who's on the Quran and the Sunnah that is going to put her parents before her husband. Rather, you're going to manage and prioritize time. Manage and prioritize what? Time. And if there's an emergency, I have to go and pick up my father. My mother fell down the steps. I can't see the husband saying no. Of course, tfaddali, let me take you. I'm going to go there myself and take her to the hospital. People that have major insecurities, extreme jealousy, that's a different story. You can't go see your sick father. I want you to stay and cook for me. You can't go pick up your mother who fell down the steps and hit her head because I want to sleep with you right now. Who's going to say that in their right mind? And wallahi, there are many brothers who are what? I will say they're what? They're tyrannical. They're tyrants in the house, and they have beards, they have thobes, they come to the masjid, assalamu alaikum, they seek knowledge, they love the ulama, blah, 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 blah. And in their homes, they're tyrants. And they oppress their wives, and they have a great deal of insecurity. That's not the characteristic of a strong man. Having jealousy for your wife is not insecurity. Being suspicious. Micromanagement is never the way of a true wise man. You never micromanage. Never. Never micromanage. You give the general instructions, how you like it, the specific details, you leave that up to the woman. You leave that up to your employee, you leave that up to the one. You don't never micromanage. So many men, they have a sickness and have an illness with this. There is no clash. Prioritize, manage your time properly. Push come to shove, someone is sick and hurt and dying, go take care of your parents. Your mother wants you to come over and drink tea, but I want to be with you. Different story. The husband comes first. The husband what? Comes first. It's not a necessity. And oftentimes mothers or fathers, they're jealous. And they're trying to take the wife away from the husband. Or vice versa. So you have to be careful and mindful of that as well. This happens all of the time. So from one aspect, the husband, without a doubt, is bigger and better. No question, he comes first. And from other aspects, the parents what? Come first. So that's because that woman is always your mother. You may get divorced to this man tomorrow, and he will forget about you and you will forget about him. The man whom you love so much, and he's the best thing since sliced bread. Tomorrow you may say he's the worst man on the face of the earth. And he never did no good for me, ever. He never helped me. And since I married you, you brought me nothing but problems. Wallahi, this is a reality. People change, hearts change. But that mother is always the one who gave you birth. And that man is always the one who was your father. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal. Khidr, you're now banned from questions. No more. You ran out of credit, huh? Fadal. Okay.
Is it allowed for a sister to seek knowledge or study in a university without any mahrams or relatives? The second question is, can women travel alone when her mahram can go along with her? Can she travel alone to a different country if she travels for gaining knowledge? If she does not have enough resources to learn Islam in her country?
Tayyib. The first question is regarding a woman being by herself studying in a university seeking ilm without a mahram. We previously explained that. If she's safe, then she can be by herself. If she's safe and respected, no one is whistling at her and snapping their fingers and disrespecting her honor and her chastity. She can walk down the street with honor. No one is bothering her. No men are lingering around her dorm or her apartment at nighttime. She doesn't need a mahram. Mahram is needed for traveling and needed for khalwa, being alone with someone who isn't a mahram. We answered that already. As far as the second question, can a woman travel by herself without a mahram if she needs to seek knowledge and is insufficient in her country? First point is, the ulama of Islam, they have a detailed discussion on if a woman can and cannot travel without a mahram. And we've answered that question on Mufti Q&A. Please go back to the video. Some ulama say that a woman can travel by herself as long as it's safe outside. And others, they say a woman cannot travel by herself, period. And some say if she's with a group of sisters, she can travel. There's different views of the fuqaha regarding a woman traveling without a mahram. First and foremost, the safest thing to do is not to travel without a mahram, based off of the hadith of the Rasul alayhi salatu. As far as traveling out of necessity, as if it's a necessity for her to seek knowledge, which is fard ayn knowledge. And even though in America or in the United States or the UK or Australia, everything is online. In books, it is globalization. Is there even a such thing as fard ayn travel anymore? You can sit in your home and learn knowledge. However, as some of the ulama have explained, listen carefully, there may be a person who is very talented and they have obtained the mandatory type of knowledge, but they're naturally talented and they've obtained more skills and they have the ability to actually be a shaykh. They have the ability to actually be a prodigy. It may become mandatory upon that individual to now seek the fard al-kifaya knowledge, because someone has to do it, as we already proved. We have proven that. And you have the talent to do it. And in your whole entire city, no one is more suited than you. You are the golden child, as they say, or the chosen one. You're young, you're talented, you're smart, you have the ability. You are the sheikh of tomorrow. In which somebody may say, you must go. It's no longer sitting in your house. You have to make the rihla now. And if no one can travel with you and it's safe, then perhaps فَقَدْ يَقُولُ قَائِلٌ, someone could possibly say it's permissible to leave your home and come to Malaysia. Huh, Khidr? To leave Thailand and what? Come to Malaysia without a mahram in that situation. Wallahu a'lam. Khalas? Fadal? You have more? Huh? Fadal.
Once we gain knowledge, how do we translate our knowledge into da'wah, and
once we gain knowledge, how do we translate it into da'wah and conveying it and acting upon it, so on and so forth? Through the books that we just mentioned to you. Read those books and it will tell you how to make the transition from student to scholar to teacher. Read those books. It's all in those books. Everything is in those books. Khalas? Alhamdulillah. Fadal. Salam tullah. Fadal. لا خدر هذا ممنوع. ممنوع. محجوز هذا محجور عليه. خلاص. What's the etiquette of asking the question? طيب, there are many etiquettes or many adab, many manners. First is to be sincere. Be sincere. Second is to be respectful. Raise your right hand. Don't cut someone off. Try your best to pick the right time and place for asking questions. Don't ask a question when someone is really tired or angry or has to use the bathroom or really hungry. Or you're on a very tight schedule and it's just time for breakfast. Some people don't mind, I don't mind, but others may mind. Everyone understand this? You have to be mindful of things like this. Ask a question to someone whom you feel is qualified. Don't put someone in a difficult situation asking them something which you feel is beyond their level, and which they could يتهرج يستحي. He may feel too shy to say I don't know. أنت قد أثمته جعلته يأثم. Now you're making him speak without the proper knowledge. وهكذا. Also, from the etiquette of asking a question is not to have a full cup. Empty your cup. Get rid of what you think. Get rid of what you feel. Ask, Sheikh, what's the ruling on wearing white? Don't say, well, I know that white is okay, but I want to ask you about wearing beige. Because, I read Shaykh Uthaymeen, he said, that Ibn Taymiyyah said, and al-Albani said, Sheikh, ma hukmu libs al-abyad? Udhkur lana, please tell us what's the rule on wearing white. Empty your cup. Ibn Taymiyyah, Albani, Uthaymeen, so on and so forth. Of course, it's beautiful. But the person that you're asking is not Uthaymeen or Ibn Taymiyyah or Albani. Let him answer the question as he sees fit. Extremely important. Another very important etiquette of asking questions is mentioned by Shaykh Bakr rahimahullah and others, is not to mention names unnecessarily. Do not mention names unnecessarily. And there are many wisdoms and harms of this. From the harms of this is that a person may not like the person that you mention. فَقَدْ يَحِيدْ فِي الْجَوَابِ بِسَبَبْ هَذَا. He may say something which isn't right. He may go off the track because he doesn't like that person. Or the opposite. The opposite. A person, he may like someone so much, he may what? Be a little biased. Or a person is afraid and scared. يهاب الشخص المذكور. أنا قرأت أن الشيخ ابن عثيمين رحمه الله قال كذا كذا كذا. Shaykh Ibn Muneer, and he may feel afraid to go against him, and the sawab may be في قول غير الشيخ. You understand what I'm saying to you? So it's unnecessary to mention people's names unless there is a need. Or even if you mention the name, you say جاء في كلام الشيخ فلان مجموع الفتاوى جزء كذا صفحة كذا. من باب الفائدة, من باب being generous with the information وهكذا. Alright? Or تكني عنه. ما رأيك يا شيخ في من يقول وهناك من يقول وهناك شيخ كذا. Okay? Without mentioning a specific name. That's the prophetic style. ما بال رجال ما بال أقوام. That's the prophetic style. And there are many other manners. These are from the most important manners of asking a question. Wallahu alam. Bil-Yamin. Khadir is wearing off on you. Atabu Sarraq. Time. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا.
محمد رسول الله